Hi, how are you? Good, good to see you.
Are those your glasses?
You know, they're just my little, like, I just need them for
fun glasses.
reading. Yeah, I buy a bunch of them at, like, Amazon. Leave them around. How are you?
I'm great, how are you?
Good, good, good. Did they give you another show yet?
No, not yet. I think they're, I don't know, maybe they're leaving me alone for
No, they need to. I want to work with you, though. I was bummed that I didn't get to work with you that day.
I know.
We'll make it happen.
Okay.
It's not up to me, unfortunately. I wish it were, but it's not.
I have to say, the difference between like in studio and like live,
it's really different. It's really loud, and it's hard to hear the conversation you're having at the desk and stuff. But it's a different energy for sure. That was kind of a lot to bite off on the first time, but I think you did well.
Yeah. The hardest part was when I found the camera. It was like I had something good to say, and then while I was trying to find the camera, I would like lose my train of thought.
Right.
So that was the hardest part for me.
It's tricky.
Is that okay?
Everybody good? So another very big fight, another very big stage for you. I mean, your star keeps rising. Just give me the idea of the experience and how you're feeling to really be. It seems like peaking in your career right now.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. But to me, every fight is the biggest fight, and you just have to look at it that way. When you put too much pressure on yourself, then for me, it stifles my movement. It stifles my creativity. It stifles my ability to just be in the present moment and do what I do. So to me, it's just another fight, and the preparation is the most important part. As long as I know that I've prepared for the fight and for what's to come, then I can just go in there, take a deep breath, and move, you know?
So when you talk about keeping that pressure away, it's just knowing that basically you left it all in the gym, that you're as ready as you ever can be?
Yeah, that's what gives me the confidence going into the fight, is knowing that I put in the time at home. You know, the 3-4 days, the not being able to shower in between training because I have to go run errands for my daughter or do interviews for this or that. It all is going to pay off on this Saturday.
Has life changed for you at all lately? I mean, I gotta think you're getting noticed a little bit more, things of that nature.
It's gotten a lot busier. It's gotten a lot busier, and that's probably the biggest part of it. Like, since my fight with Paige, I don't think I've been home a weekend. We've been in LA, in New York, Houston, Colorado, back to LA. We've been all over the place, and so it's fun. It's just an adjustment that I have to learn to overcome.
But have you learned any lessons? Because certainly when Paige was put out there on the scene and she was hyped a lot and got a lot of press, it seemed to maybe become a distraction, you know, maybe. So did you learn any lessons from that, knowing how, you sometimes maybe have to say no to certain things, or, just to make sure that you don't get lost in all of the hype as they're trying to build you?
Exactly. I think it's important to stay grounded. But I have the best teammates in the world to learn from. Holly Holm, John Jones, Donald Cerrone, all these guys, they're superstars. But they come to the gym every day and they put the work in, and I get to see them do that. And so I just learn from them and do that, and make sure that my training comes first and everything else is secondary, outside of my family, obviously. And then and for me, that just takes a huge pressure off of me, because I know in my heart, like, I can be honest with myself, and I know that I've trained. And
I'm not trying to give her a hard time. I feel like I would totally say yes to opportunities given to me. You and Rose have her as a common opponent. You both were able to beat her. What did you learn about Rose in watching how she fought Paige?
I learned a lot, actually. It's funny because I studied the fight against Rose and Paige pretty intensely coming up to Paige's fight. And Rose, I think after coming off the show and after losing to Carla, on the big stage, I think really took a step back and reevaluated the way she fought. And I think at the beginning of her career, she was more apt to take chances and to do things more creatively. And after losing to Carla, I think that she is more methodical about her movements, and I saw that with the fight against Paige. I also saw that with the fight against Carolina, and so she's still very creative with her movement, but is more decisive with the things that she decides to do with her movement.
Does that make it easier to prepare for? I wonder, because I mean, it's probably a smarter thing, you know, but when somebody's unpredictable and wild, I think it's got to be a little tougher to get ready for.
Yeah, you just have to be prepared for both, and I think that if you look at the girls in the strawweight roster, Rose is probably one of the more well-rounded MMA fighters, and so preparing for her, you have to prepare for everything. I can't just be like, all right, I'm gonna sharpen up my my stand-up, or I'm sharpening up my jits. No, like I gotta sharpen everything. I gotta make sure every single tool in my shed is sharpened so that I'm ready for Rose.
We hear a lot about like veteran savvy and that sort of thing. I mean, do you think there is an edge to that, because you've been in the game for so long, and as much as she's already accomplished and as great as she is, she's still relatively young in the game.
Yeah, she's still young in the game, but you know, I can't take anything away from her. She's mentally very strong, and she's determined to get to the top just as much as I am. I know that, but I know that that I'm headed to the top, and she is the person that I have to beat if I want to get where I'm going.
Do you think at all about what the stakes, like the specific stakes of this fight are? Because even after your last fight, I heard people saying, title shot, she's ready for title shot now. Do you think this is the type of fight that can earn you a title shot?
I definitely think it's the fight that can earn me the title shot, but like I said earlier, that's not the pressure I'm trying to put on the fight. I'm trying to go in there and be the fighter that I know I can be, and be the fighter that I am every day in the gym.
What is your take on Joanna as a champion? You know, why do you think she's so hard to beat?
Because she is very intimidating, and she hasn't been beat, so there is like this aura of invincibility around her. Like it's like you know, if something hasn't been done before, everybody's like, oh, you can't do that. You know, you can't go to the moon until it's done, and then it's possible. So.
Have you been around her?
Yeah, I got to hang out with Joanna when we were in Chicago doing some PR.
So when you talk about the aura, I mean, was the aura there even though it wasn't a matchup, or you know?
She has a way of asserting her dominance, and that's just her personality. You know, in and outside of the octagon. I've met her in Chicago. She also came down to cross train at Jackson's for a week after she was done filming the Tough Show. She's a very nice girl, but she's also a champ for the reason, you know.
Would it mean something more to beat her on the way to the title? She can lose by the time you get there. Would it mean something more to beat her to get the title than to just get the title?
100%. Because you're the first, right?
Yeah. So you think Jessica Andrade? What do you think her chances are?
So this is my thinking with Jessica Andrade, and I'm just trying to think like as a fighter myself. If Jessica Andrade is like saving her jits in her wrestling because she didn't want to expose her game plan to Joanna for the championship fight, that's a very, very smart move to do, and just maybe make Joanna overly confident. And but if Jessica Andrade goes in throwing the loopy punches, being the smaller fighter, she's not going to get close to Joanna, because Joanna is very long and she throws straight punches down the middle. So I'd like to see what kind of Jessica Andrade comes out to play.
You know, I want to ask you too about Holly. Obviously, I know you guys are tight, and she's had a tough time lately. So, how's she been in the gym? How's her mentality right now? How is she feeling about the fight game these days?
I can say nothing but great things about Holly. She, if there's somebody to look up to, it's her. And she, no matter what is going on in her life, if she's passionate about something, she's going to make her way into the gym and do it. Like, whatever happened in this last fight, she came back to the gym that Monday to train. And that's just the type of champion that I like to look up to. And so no, she's in good spirits, and she is in the gym every day getting better.
Do you believe Holly got wronged in her last fight?
I do, and I was there, and I had to hold myself back because I was very emotional, and I was cussing, and
I'm bringing back gold members.
Yes. It was hard because this is my thought on the whole thing that happened is, if you're gonna be a dirty fighter, cool, whatever. If that's your style, that's your style. But don't come out and try to hit gloves with me at the beginning of every round and then hit me after the bell's over. You know, like pick your poison. Which one you want to do? If you're gonna be dirty, just be dirty. Don't be dirty. Like don't be a sour patch. You know, like don't hit me and then be like, oh, ha, sorry, just no. Are we friends? No.
Sour didn't see.
Yeah. So that's just my thing about it. I hope to see the rematch, and I know that Holly will be able to be victorious the second time around.
About a year ago, Rose came up to Jackson to train for a little bit. Did you guys cross paths?
Yeah, we've cross-trained going back years before we moved to the new facility. Rose has come down because she's in Denver and we cross-train with a lot of the guys out in Denver. So she's come down. I went out to train with her before she went out for Tough. She came down a little bit for her fight before she fought Tisha Torres. So yeah, I know her, and like I said, out of all the girls like in the UFC roster, she's probably one of my favorite. Unfortunately, I have to fight her if I want to climb the ranks, and that's it's just the nature of the game.
Yeah, with what VanZant was trying to deal with 24 hours before her debut, just curious as a fellow female fighter, how do you think she handled that whole situation?
I think she handled it wonderfully. You know, I think it's that's really invasive for people to like, you know, butt into somebody's personal life like that. But you know, it is what it is. At the end of the day, people want to know the juicy stuff. And she handled it well. I don't know if it threw her off her game. I don't know her personally. But you know, that's the nature of the sport. It's not just, it definitely is not just getting in there and two people, you know, throwing fists. It's a lot of emotion. It's a lot of mental training, and everything has to be aligned on that one day.
You know, some people thought you might not be ready for the spectacle of being on the show on Fox when you were fighting Paige, and that she had that great experience being in the spotlight, and that she would have the edge there. How did you feel, you know, going into that fight and that day when everything was on you guys?
To me, it's I think it's funny that people would think that, because 6 days out of the week I walk into the octagon and I fight. So the octagon is my home. It doesn't matter if it's in the backyard, if it's, you know, under the lights of 1 million people, or on Big Fox, or against whoever. The octagon is my home, so I'm comfortable there.
The UFC added a weight class for women this year, and there's some talk that maybe they'll add more, but you actually went up in weight just to fight in the UFC. In what way do you think it's actually been beneficial for you to fight as a strawweight, and we're seeing more and more fighters actually go up in weight? How do you think that's really benefiting everyone in general?
There comes a point when trying to lose too much weight can be a disservice to yourself, because you start to cut into your muscle. You can never recover back all the water weight that you cut off. And for me personally, I can't speak for other people, but I'm eating more healthy. It's become more of a lifestyle than just something that I do 8 weeks at a time. And because I'm eating more healthy, I'm able to have harder training sessions and more productive training sessions. I feel like I'm a more a healthy version of myself, and I'm a smarter athlete moving up to 115, and I'm not hangry. So it's good all around. I'm able to put on muscle and actually keep it and continue to build, and I enjoy it. I haven't yet met a person that has made me feel like I should probably drop back to 105, and until I do, I'm here to stay.
Do you think there are enough weight classes for women now in general, or do you think they need to come?
If they open up another weight class, I think 125 division is in order, because there are a lot of girls that are struggling at 115 that should be fighting at 125, and then some girls that probably shouldn't be fighting at 135 that would fare better at 125. And for women in particular, it's you know, we're smaller anyways. We hold on to weight. Our bodies are meant to hold on to weight. because we're built to birth babies and be soft and cuddly. So I think opening up more weight divisions, you'll see the females flourish and be comfortable in the divisions that they're supposed to be in.
We've heard actually Joanna mention as recently as November she doesn't know how long she's going to fight for. Eventually she wants to have kids. Do you think that it's actually been beneficial for you to have already had a child much earlier in your career as opposed to have to consider this one?
I don't know. I've had discussions with that with a lot of my female fighters because it's something that crosses your mind that doesn't cross a man's mind. Like a man's like, oh, I have to have that baby. You know, like they're not the ones that have to walk around for 9 months with this thing growing inside of them. And you know, there is like this time frame that you should try to get into, and all those things play a big part in your career. And when I got pregnant, it was one of those things. I was in the dark. I really had no idea if I was going to be able to come back to fighting. I didn't know if I could. I didn't know if I would want to. I didn't know that there would be something on the other side. There was just so many unknowns. But I'm glad that it happened the way it did. She's become a whole new motivation for me, and she's been to every single one of my fights. She is my new cheerleader now, and she, you know, she keeps me on track with my diet. She's like, oh no, Mom, that's bad. That's a bad guy, you can't have that, you know. And so she's a huge part of the reason why I am so successful today. So I'm blessed, like looking back at it, to be able to have her so young and still be able to flourish in my career now.
You said on the Fight Mon documentary that Wink was actually instrumental too in keeping your morale up and being like, no, you're gonna still be able to do this, right? So
yeah, it was crazy. I was really scared what they were gonna say when I told them. I thought I was gonna kind of like be banished from the gym, and you're like, oh, you're not a fighter anymore. But they were like, that's great, good. You're gonna be a mom, and you're so young. So have your baby and come back to the gym. You know.
And then when they put it that way, you're like, well, duh.
Yeah. That I made it such a big deal, and it wasn't. You know.
What was the thought process like of having her at your fights? Because you know, I'm sure there's some people like, well, children shouldn't be watching fighting anyway. It's violence, much less their mom being in a fight.
Yeah.
So walk through the thought process of how you said, no, this is good. She needs to do that.
Well, if you tell somebody that fighting is violent, then they're gonna think fighting is violent. You know, it's all in perception. It's how you raise them. She doesn't think fighting is violent. Fighting is a martial arts. Fighting is something that I do for my career. Fighting is something that I do to stay physically fit. You know, she's learned so many life lessons. She's only 6 years old. You know, she's learned so many life lessons just being able to watch me, you know, come up the ranks, win, lose, get injured. You know, she knows the difference between a good guy and a bad guy when it comes to food. Like all these things, these are all good things. So I think it's all in the perspective.